In Ripon, Wisconsin, a machine called a Speed Queen has been spinning since 1928. Not that exact one, but the brand, the boxy metal drum, the low industrial hum. Today, one of those machines sits in a strip mall. One most people have driven past 100 times. It costs a stranger $3 to run one cycle. That stranger comes back again and again because the surveys say around 90% of laundry customers are repeat customers. Nobody photographs this place. Nobody posts about it. And yet a single self-service laundromat in the United States can throw off more cash in a year than a lot of full-time salaries. That is the whole story. A boring box, full of quarters, quietly out-earning the job you drove there from. So here's the question that should bother you. Why does almost nobody you know own one of these? You have heard of stocks. You have heard of rental houses and vending routes and drop shipping. You probably have not spent one evening studying the coin laundry down the street. That gap is expensive. Think about that for a second. The average small business in America has roughly a 50% chance of surviving 5 years. Laundromats, by the industry's own survey numbers, survive at rates people quote near 95%. If you spend a decade chasing businesses that fail half the time and ignore an asset that rarely dies, the cost is not just money. It is years. It is the compounding you never got to start. Not knowing this keeps you renting your income by the hour instead of owning something that earns while you sleep. Stay with me to the end. I am going to walk you through how the small machines actually make money, then how the store and the building make more, then the quiet part real owners guard. The last idea is the one that ties every other idea together. If you leave early, you will think this video is about washing machines. It is not. It is about a pattern you can copy far outside a laundromat. So stay to the end. The last one ties the rest together. Let us start small, at the level of a single wash. Here's what almost nobody tells you about this business. It runs on turns. In the trade, the number is called turns per day, how many times one washer gets used in a day. The Coin Laundry Association puts the healthy range from 3 turns a day to 8 or more. Picture a parking meter that resets every 90 minutes and takes $3 each time. A machine at 3 turns is a slow meter. A machine at 8 turns is a meter in a packed downtown. Same steel box, wildly different income. And funny enough, the owner does almost nothing different between the two. The location did the work, which raises the obvious question. If the machine is just a meter, where does the second stream of money hide? It hides in the dryers. When someone washes, they almost always have to dry. The Coin Laundry Association notes dryer income typically runs between 40 and 60% of washer income. So every wash quietly drags a dryer sale behind it, like a coffee shop, where the espresso forces you to buy the pastry. You are not selling one thing. You are selling a chain reaction. The customer started the chain the moment they walked in with a hamper. Here's the part that should make you sit up. The owner did not upsell anyone. The machine did. Run the arithmetic once, and it sticks. 30 washers, each turning 4 times a day at $3 a turn. That is $360 a day from the washers alone before a single dryer spins. Multiply across a month and one row of machines clears more than $10,000. Now layer the dryers on top, then the vending. The magic is not any single coin. It is the same small coin dropped thousands of times a week. Now think about who that customer is. Industry surveys suggest more than 60% of laundromat customers are women, often with a median household income around $28,000, and something like 87% live within 1 mile of the store. That last number matters more than it looks. 87% within a mile means your customer base is a small circle drawn on a map. You are not competing with the whole internet. You are competing for one neighborhood, and there is far less competition than you would expect because most people never think to open one here. A rental house needs one tenant to say yes. A laundromat needs a neighborhood to keep breathing. Guess which one is more stable? Then there is the quarter myth. And this is a good one. Most people picture a bucket of coins. The modern store barely runs on quarters anymore. It runs on loyalty cards, tap payments, and phone apps that let the owner raise the vend, priced by a dime without repainting a single sign. It's not one thing. It's a price you can change from your couch on a machine that never calls in sick. And once you can nudge price by a dime across dozens of machines, a tiny change becomes real money. Hold on to that dime. It comes back later. There is one more small stream, and it is almost invisible. Vending. Detergent, softener, snacks, a soda while you wait. Operators describe these as add-on margins layered on top of the wash. Think of it as the candy rack at the register, except the customer is stuck in your store for 40 minutes with nothing to do. That captive time is the product. You already paid the rent and the lights. Every bag of detergent sold after that is nearly pure topping. And the person buying it does not feel sold to at all. They feel served. Keep that word, served. Act 3 turns on it. Now, zoom out from the machine to the whole store. Zoom out one more click to the whole country. The Coin Laundry Association counts roughly 29,500 coin laundries in the United States, together generating close to $5 billion a year. 29,000 quiet little cash boxes, humming in strip malls, most owned by ordinary people, not hedge funds. That is a fragmented industry, which is a fancy way of saying no giant has bought them all up yet. In stocks, everyone is fighting over the same famous companies. Here, thousands of corners sit half-noticed. Fragmented and boring is where patient money likes to hunt. Now the number that gets loud. The Coin Laundry Association estimates a single laundromat can produce cash flow anywhere from $15,000 to $300,000 a year. Read the top of that range again. $300,000 from one store that a stranger runs their gym shorts through. That is the sentence in the title. One laundromat, out earning a job. The spread is enormous, and the spread is the point. The building, the neighborhood, and the machine mix decide where you land. So your job as an owner is not to fold towels. It is to buy the right box on the right corner. So how much does the right box cost? Depending on who you ask, opening one runs somewhere between $200,000 and $500,000, and a prime, oversized build can push past $1 million. That is real money, and it scares people off, which is exactly why the competition stays thin. Compare it to a food franchise that can cost the same and fail far more often. You are paying a serious entry fee for a business that, by industry survey, rarely dies. High wall, safe castle. The people who climb the wall tend to keep what is inside. And notice, most people never even walk up to the wall. And these are not sprawling operations. The average store fills only 1,000 to 5,000 square feet of rented retail space, about the footprint of a small grocery aisle, a tiny room, a few dozen machines, and a lease. That is the entire physical plant behind numbers that can rival a professional salary. The size of the room has almost nothing to do with the size of the income. Banks understand this too. Steady cash and a high survival rate make lenders comfortable, which is why so many stores are bought with borrowed money instead of a full pile of cash. The asset helps pay for itself, and the cash arrives in a rhythm most investments cannot match. A dividend stock pays you 4 times a year. A rental pays you once a month if the tenant behaves. A laundromat rings a small sale every few minutes it is open, in coins and tabs that clear instantly. Cash today, cash tomorrow, cash on the holiday you forgot about. That steady drip is easy to underrate until you realize a small amount, repeated often enough, is just a river. Hold that image of the river. The twist runs right through it. Here is the number that reframes the whole purchase. Laundromats are valued and sold at roughly 3 to 5 times their net cash flow. So a store netting $100,000 a year is not just a $100,000 income. It is an asset worth $300,000 to $500,000 the day you improve it. Fix the turns, raise the vend a dime, and you did not just earn more this month. You minted equity. It is like renovating a kitchen and watching the whole house reprice. Except the kitchen also hands the owner cash every week while it appreciates. Now, who is actually running the place while this happens? Often, almost nobody. The typical owner, by one operator's estimate, spends about 5 hours a week on the store. 5 hours. That is the reality behind the word passive, and we will be honest about that word in a minute. But sit with the math first. 5 hours a week against cash flow that can rival a salary. The machine works 168 hours a week. You work 5. The other 163 are the machine paying you for owning it. That ratio is the entire dream in one line. And that same ratio is what people lie about online. There is also the landlord layer, and it is the quiet favorite of serious operators. Some owners do not just run the laundromat. They buy the building it sits in. Now the laundromat pays rent to you, the owner, and the property appreciates underneath the whole thing. You become your own best tenant, a tenant who never leaves and never misses a check. Rent is often only around 9% of a laundromat's revenue. So the tenant is comfortable and the landlord is you. 2 profits, 1 address. That is not an accident. That is the move. Now, the part quiet owners do not put on a flyer. This is the layer they mention least. The best laundromat owners are not really in the laundry business. They are in the utility arbitrage business. The single biggest cost in the store is water, gas, and electricity, and for older equipment that can eat 25 to 40% of revenue. So the whole game becomes swapping old machines for high-efficiency ones that use less water per wash. Every gallon you do not buy is profit you keep, on a bill that arrives every month, forever. Boring, ruthless, extremely effective. The owner who obsesses over water bills is the owner who wins, and nobody makes a highlight reel about a water bill. Consider the water alone. A high-efficiency washer can use a fraction of the water an old top loader. Burns through every cycle. Across 30 machines and thousands of washes a month, that difference is not pennies. It is thousands of dollars a year that stops leaving through the drain. The upgrade is dull, the saved bill is not. There is also a money misconception worth naming out loud. People hear a store grosses $300,000 and assume the owner keeps it all. They do not. Utilities, rent, repairs, and an attendant take their cut first. Gross is the applause. Net is the paycheck. The owners who confuse the two overpay for a store and then wonder where the money went. Next, they protect the location like a secret. Remember that 87% of customers within a mile. That means the real asset is not the steal. It is the corner. A great corner near apartments where people rent and do not own washers is a small monopoly on a basic human need. Clothes get dirty every week in every economy, whether the market is up or down. This is a recession-resistant chore. When money gets tight, more people give up their in-unit machines and come to you. Your worst customer year can be your best. Sit with that for a moment. A business that can grow when the economy shrinks is rare. Most companies pray for good times while a neighborhood laundromat quietly does fine in bad ones. Let that sink in, then ask why anyone chases trendier businesses. They also protect the equipment brand, and here a real name matters. A huge share of these machines come from Alliance Laundry Systems, out of Ripon, Wisconsin, the maker behind Speed Queen, a brand selling laundry machines since 1928. Alliance holds something like a 38% share of the relevant equipment market. Quiet owners buy the boring, near-indestructible machine on purpose. Because a washer that runs for 20 years is a washer that stops eating your cash flow with repairs. It is the opposite of buying a flashy car. You want the appliance nobody writes songs about, the one that just refuses to die, and they protect their pricing nerve. Remember the dime. Most owners are terrified to raise the vend price because they fear losing customers. But the numbers say around 90% of customers come back, and 87% live within a mile with few good alternatives. That is far less competition than you would expect, which means a careful dime here and a quarter there rarely sends anyone away. The person who will not raise a price by 10 cents is the person leaving the most money on the folding table. The confident dime, repeated across every machine, every wash, all year, is where the $300,000 stores come from. Finally, they protect their time by paying for systems. Card readers, remote monitoring, an app that shows which machine is broken from a phone across town. The 5-hour week is not luck. It is bought with software and one part-time attendant. The owner is not avoiding work. The owner is buying their hours back and spending them on the next store, which is the thread we have been pulling this whole time. And it is about to snap into place. Now let's be honest, because this is not a magic box. It is a real business with real ways to lose. The soft word passive is doing a lot of lying online. Remember that 5-hour week? That is the calm store, already built, already running with systems paid for. Getting there is not passive at all. You have to find the corner, survive a build-out that can run past $200,000, and fix the ugly stuff nobody films. Machines flood, a gasket fails at midnight, and water finds the floor. Someone breaks in for the coin box. A rough location brings vandalism, and the kind of repair bills that erase a good month. And that utility cost, 25 to 40% of revenue on old equipment, can quietly drown a store the owner never upgraded. Buy the wrong corner, or the wrong machines, or believe the ATM fantasy, and you can absolutely lose. And the bad exits are real too. Some stores stall for years in the wrong location and never clear a decent profit. A lease that ends can force a whole build-out to move across town. None of that shows up in the highlight version. The high survival rate belongs to owners who did the boring work. It was never a gift for showing up. So here's the last idea, the one that ties the rest together. Step back from laundry completely. What did you actually just watch? A machine that takes a small amount, $3, over and over from a customer who comes back most of the time. A dryer that tags along behind every wash. A vending rack skimming the captive minutes. A dime of price raised across 1,000 cycles. None of these is a jackpot. Every one of them is small. And that is the secret the whole video was hiding. The wealth was never in one big payment. It was in a small amount collected on repeat that never gets tired. Now watch the pattern climb. The quarters buy a better machine. The better machine lifts the cash flow. The higher cash flow, at 3 to 5 times, becomes equity you can borrow against. That borrowed equity buys the building. The building buys the second laundromat, and the second store starts its own little river of small repeated payments, feeding the third. This is the engine. You are not chasing one big win. You are buying assets that pay small repeated amounts, then feeding each stream into the next asset. Stack enough small streams, and the total stops feeling small. 10 quiet payments a day become $300 a month, become the down payment on the next machine. The scale sneaks up on the patient. Here is the line to keep. Do not hunt for one big payday. Own small things that pay you often and let them buy each other. That is the whole machine. The laundromat was just the clearest place to see it because you can hear the coins. The stock, the rental, the vending route, they all obey the same law. Small, repeated, reinvested. Think about that for a second. And the boring box in the strip mall stops looking boring. Picture 2 people who started with the same $10,000. Marcus put his into whatever was loud that year, the coin, the flip, the can't-miss launch, always jumping to the next big thing. Dana bought a tired little laundromat on a rented corner, fixed the turns, raised the vend a dime, and let it hum. 5 years on, Marcus has a camera roll of screenshots and no cash. Dana used the first store's equity to buy the building, then a second store across town. She is not rich in a highlight reel way. She just quietly out-earns her old job, from machines that spin whether she shows up or not. The gap did not open in a weekend. It opened one dime, one dryer, one boring month at a time. Somewhere in Ripon, another speed queen comes off the line and starts turning. The boring box was the answer the entire time. Most people just drove past it. If this shifted how you see boring money, share it with one person who needs it, hit like, and subscribe for the next one.